Shishimad His Divine Grace. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Padram Sabarim Rajakacharya Stotra Sata Shishimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananda Kodi Vaishnavi. Prem Se Kaushik Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Antaraja Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Prem. All glories to the Assemblies. All glories to the Assemblies. All glories to the Assemblies. All glories to Shishiguru Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So today's verse will Bhagavad Gita 2.56. Now I have it here. I'm just going to read it. Should I just read it? No repetition, right? Just I'll read. Dukeshvanu vigna manaha sukeshu vigata spriha vitaragavaya krodha sthiti dhirunir uchyate. I'll read it one more time. Dukeshvanu vigna manaha sukeshu vigata spriha vitaragavaya krodha sthita dhirunir uchyate. I'll just read it, you guys repeat. Dukeshu, in the threefold miseries. Anudvigna manaha, without being agitated in mind. Sukeshu, in happiness. Vigata spriha, without being interested. Vita, free from. Raga, attachment. Bhaya, fear. Krodha, and anger. Sthita dihi, whose mind is steady. Munihi, a sage. Uchyate, is called. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Purport. The word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation, without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a muni differs from other munis, he cannot be called a muni in the strict sense of the term. Nasab rishir yasya matam na vinam. This is from the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad 3:13. Text 117. But a Sthita Dhir Muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. The Sthita Dhir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called a Prasanta Nishesha Mano Ratnathara. This is from the Stotra Ratna, text 43. Or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna, or Vasudeva, is everything. Vasudevaha sarvam iti sa mahatma suduravaha. He is called a muni, fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest, Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna-conscious person is always steady in his determination. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sahajatam Sadhanaramanam Vitam Samsritam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paranam Sadhanalita Shri Vishapanditanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapatansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishnamanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, yes, I do spend most of my time now in the Philippines, in Cebu. There are some family things I have to take care of for the next year or so. But I'm a Jersey Walla. I grew up in Paka, Jersey Walla. I know this route. I just wanted to say this. But I know the route. I could drive it like blind, like I'm on automatic. That's dangerous, of course. It's very dangerous. And I remember when I was like a teenager, I would drive after they'd just leave me in the kitchen to clean all the pots. I don't know what happened. But I drive home late and like, and fall asleep and things like that. But I could drive this 287 route automatically. I just like, it's like exit 47, it just drifts off and I just end up here. But on the way here, when 287 splits off, somebody just like pops off of 78 and cuts me off. And I was like, oh my God. I was about to hit the horn. I was like, I can't believe this guy. And then I looked at the plate and it says, Rudge 108. Who is Rudge 108? Is he here? I was like, okay, I know he's going to be here. No, you know what I did it? Anybody? Yeah, Kalade. Use different name, yeah. No, okay. So, yes, I am a Jersey Walla. I don't know if you know Ram Mahorta. We were teenagers in high school. and we came to this temple. And it is a homecoming for me. That's why I see Namras, I see so many people, Prasads, Matacharjis, there are all these the names of the families that I knew. And I just, it's nice to be back. But when I saw Namras and I saw myself sitting here in Namras, it was a little, I just smiled. It's, I see a lot of people. I'm happy to be here with Shushu Gornitai, all of you. But as some of you might know, but I know the faces have changed over time. And I was 18 when I moved here. I took the BAHE when it was offered in North America. And I guess a lot has changed since then. I think, but anyway, I'm happy to be here. When I moved here, I was just a teenager, and I come from an Asian family, as he mentioned, and the most important thing, I suppose we're all Asian, we're South Asian, Southeast Asian, but what's important, they wanted me to be successful, they wanted me to make money, and they wanted me, of course, to reproduce and carry on the name. But I moved in here. So they were a little worried. And my family, they wondered what I was doing here. And my sister, who is the closest in age to me, and we went to high school together, and we went to parties, and like I'd go to a party and she was there. We were very close. And she never questioned anything, but she came here, and I remember we were out on the porch, which was the porch there, but now it's the shoe area. Beautiful breezeway. It was a beautiful porch. But she asked me, like, what do you want to, what are you doing here? Why do you want to move here? And for how long? So I know this is a story, I'm going to get back to the Gita, okay? This is a lot of memories, it's an influx. She said, why are you coming here? And I was young, I was idealistic, and I said that I think that I know everybody's going to school, but I know that I want to know who the self is, I want to know who God is, and I know that I need to nurture those two kind of truths in my life, and that's why I was going to come here. And it wouldn't be forever. It wasn't in my mind to be forever, but I told my sister, because she's my sister, that it would be forever. And if anybody knows me, there's no way I would be a brahmachari for the rest of my life. But she said, I'm a monk, and for how long? I said, forever. And then she, that never happened, she started crying. And I was like, why are you crying? She was like, because I just imagine you getting old and being alone. I was like, that's stupid. Like, you're my sister. I'll always have family. You have the congregation, Maybe I'll become a big guru and I'll have disciples. Oh my God. But I never understood what that was, that fear. And it was, I didn't get it. I was like, I don't understand why you would feel that something like that is frightening. Or why does that concern you? Why so sad? Well, I'm not 18 anymore, and I can say that I think I'm beginning, no, I do get it. I'm very scared of everything. But I think why the verse itself, I think this is why I wanted to speak about this verse, because, well, look at the verse. It's actually a very nice, unfortunately, I didn't, if I'd known, I would have brought like a computer or something, but in terms of the Sanskrit, it's organized nicely. Let's look at the verse here. So Vitaraga, Bhaya, Krodha. Oh no, was that the verse? Oh, I'm sorry. But no, this is not the verse. The verse is 526. 1 second. 256, sorry, 256. So the verse is Dukeshu, Anudvigna Manaha, and Sukeshu. Okay, so that's, we'll put that in a pairing. Sandwiched between Dukeshu and Sukeshu is Anudvigna Manaha. That without being agitated by these two things, Sukeshu and Dukeshu, that a person, ultimately we're talking about Stita Dhir, which is a concept that's really described in chapter 2, and he goes back to it multiple times, Krishna. And the other term is Vigata Spreha, and then Vigata Spreha is the longing. The Spreha is longing, but it's the root is Gam. Vigata is Gam. Gam in Sanskrit means to go. They go. But the term that I wanted to speak about is this Vitarada Baya Krodha. That's something called a samas. It's a what do you call it? A compound. Most of the Gita is compounds. Our names are compounds. Sanskrit. So what happens is when in Sanskrit, when you combine words, you can take two words with different meanings, you put them together, they make another meaning. Then we call that a Bahuvrihi compound. There are different kinds of compounds. But this compound, this Vita, Radha, Baya, Krodha, a simple vocabulary, right? Everybody knows Radha. It comes from Ranj, right? Ranj means like color, or like Ranj de Besanti. Like, is that enough? It's a great movie. But the colors, my colors is saffron. And Ranj, but Radha has many different meanings. It could mean color, but it also means attachment, and in this case, that's what it means. Bhaya, we know, is fear, and Krodha, anger. And the person who is Stitadi, he is also the Muni, Uchite. Uchite comes from Vach, to speak. They are called the Muni. And but he is free from these three things: the Raga, the Baya, and the Krodha. It's very Star Warsy. But so I looked at that, and now I want to look into this idea that I go back to my sister on the porch back then, when she was like, I'm just afraid that you're going to be alone when you get old. And I think we think of fear, most people here, probably the guys are like, what are you talking about? I'm not afraid of nothing. This isn't like, it's not like in a dark alleyway and you start hearing footsteps behind you, that kind of fear. We talk about a fear that is more existential. There is a fear, that has to do with our own existence and what we are doing about it and what we're doing here and how we are spending our time. And I remember my guru gave a lecture. He started, he's like, I'm 40 now. And I was listening to it. He says, oh my God, I'm 40 now. And it hit me that he had said that when I was younger, I thought I have infinite time, as we all do. But as he got older, his perspective changed. He stopped seeing what he could do and what he could be, and started looking and saying, what have I done? And because I have friends who I went to college with, and some of them, I have a friend, Mahamuni, some of you remember. He's a dear friend. Love and hate, it's all the same. But he's a dear friend, a good friend. But some of them went on to be PhDs, they're professors. Some of them, like myself, toiled. And some of them, I was talking to a friend, he's like, I'm going to finish this thesis, or I'm going to go to this school, and I think I'm going to try to get into this college. And I was like, well, why? It sounds silly when you're 40 and saying, like, I could do I'm still gonna do this. I'm not saying you can't do anything. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point in your life, you're gonna have to say, like, do you keep on chasing that dream, or do you start taking accountability of what's been done? So my Guru Maharaj was saying, like, there is this immense, undeniable devourer called time. Kalosmi lokoshaya krita. Time I am, the devourer of planets, the devourer of everything. Krishna says this. And time is undeniable. And I started to reflect on how much time I have wasted. And even though, like, I know this place so well, and you're like, hey, Kula Pradipa is from here. When's the last time you saw me here? When's the last time I was in front of Shishigornita? How much time have I wasted? And I remember that when I was young, sitting talking to my sister on the patio, I said, I want to know God, I want to understand myself. If we were to just look at that, most philosophies just want to understand self. Let's start from there. But I want to understand God, and I want to nurture that relationship, and what happened. At what point did I divert from that? And what have I done to achieve it? Where am I? Now, you could do anything. Like I thought back then, I could do anything. I could have been a garbage man, I could have been a PhD, I could have been a doctor. But you could still nurture this spiritual life. But we get distracted. You know, these things, paying the bills, our obligations to our families. It's not it's our duty. But all we would have to do is see it in that context of the Gita, that you're doing your dharma, and that you're giving these results to Krishna. But we get caught up in it. We get emotional. What happens? We have raga, we have bhaya, and we have krodha. I just got krodha on the highway. Somebody cut me off. Shanti Home. I was okay. I saw Braj one way. I thought about Braj. And I also thought of One Away and Braj, the hardcore band. A long time ago. That was another reference. But now, okay, let me see. So my guru asked this question: why do we waste time? And he said the actual reason we waste time is cowardice. One of the main factors is cowardice. Why is it cowardice? Okay, it's not the alleyway, it's not you're hiking and you see a bear. No, this is life. Life and being a devotee is a very daunting project. To be pure, to say that, to even the prospect that you are going to give everything to God and be your true self is a very frightening prospect. I think I like this vest. I don't want to give it up. You know, I like my family. I love my family. It's not to say you don't give up your family. Keep in mind that's not what bhakti is. Maybe that's jnana. Maybe that's yoga. But Krishna doesn't say to Arjuna, forget your family. I mean, he says you're going to fight them, but you have to do your duty. You are protecting your family. He is fighting his family, but he's also protecting his family. So he's not telling him to run away. And even Arjuna, the great warrior, becomes gripped with sadness and fear, drops his bow that he would never drop. So that's what my Guru Maharaj had said. This is fear, and it happens to us fairly regularly. I think that cowardice is a result of fear. And I think fear can affect us in two ways, in my opinion. Fear can affect us by paralyzing us. We don't know what to do. And fear can also delude us and put us in a discursive or make us act. In one sense, you're paralyzed, you don't do anything. The other sense is that you'll act, right? The fight or flight. But because of fear, you would do the misleading thing, the wrong thing. The discursive thing. Discursive is for like thoughts and subjects, but I mean discursive. Because think about when you do japa, you don't think it's fear, but really, I could sit I could do my Buddha Shuddhi, I could do Achman, I could have it's Brahma Muhurta, it's the right place, right time. And my mind mind is clear, and as soon as I start chanting japa, the thoughts come in. But I know people don't think that's fear. They're just like, well, that's karma also. But fear is also something that says, like, let me provide something that's comforting. Like, I don't want to deal with this task at hand. It's hard to do. It's frightening. I don't want to do it. But fear is like, just do something else. You don't have to do it. But the point is that these things, we will have to confront them at some point. When I got second initiation, I mean, it's not a secret, it took me 15 years. So like, I obviously had a stance of life, let's just call it. And my Guru Maharaj said, I'm happy that you have seen what the next step is and you've taken it. And he said, what you should continue to do is see what that next step is and take it. Because we're gonna, if this is the truth, if it is the truth, then it will not be pleasant all the time. And that's of course the sukeshu, dukeshu, that people get affected by it, but we wouldn't be affected by it. And people think, well, that's not bravery, but it is bravery. I know we live in a very troubled time, and bravery is defined by a lot of actions, and it's a dangerous world we live in. But think about it in the tradition, in the Jain tradition, Mahavira was a Tirthankara. They would sit in caves until their bodies withered away. But what did they call it? Mahavira. Mahavira is a Satriya name, a strong, very strong, greatly strong. That is what's heroic. This path can be heroic and should be heroic. It's a good song. But it is. And we shouldn't be daunted by it. And we should be aware that is why in japa, this fear comes out. It might seem like a distraction, but it is fear. And it represents our life because we've been distracted on so many things because they're comforting to us. But the path is the razor's edge, and it's dangerous, it's frightening. We don't know what will happen because it's not up to us. So that's, I started to understand my sister's fear. I think that there are three aspects to this fear. I think that one thing is the aloneness. I know it seems like it's not that tough, but aloneness is talking about the self. Aloneness. Are you comfortable with yourself? Can you sit in japa and just be comfortable with yourself, with your flaws, the things that you did, how much time we wasted, how much time, what we have achieved? Do we create these images ourselves of what we are? Do we depict ourselves as the Ekanta, Kevala Bhakti devotee? No. I have my Facebook page, and these are my folders and my pictures, and these are the places that I've been, and everybody knows that's who I am. We create these images, but now it's even becoming more levels to it with this social media, who we think we are. So the aloneness, if you could say like whatever, I'm not afraid to be alone, but aloneness talks about the self. This is Upanishads 101, talking about Atman. Can you see Atman? Do you aspire to understand Atman? Prabhupada says, if a person who knows Atman knows Krishna. Because Krishna, they know that they're devoted, they know their true state. So aloneness is a very primordial kind of fear. Another aspect of fear is the fear of suffering and death. And a third aspect of fear is the fear of what is not known. That was just me kind of trying to understand what fear was. Because I wanted to know. Because I am afraid. At 40, I realized, I asked myself, what have I achieved? And I realized I hadn't done much. How has my japa improved? Do I pay attention? Am I still offensive? So after 20 years, you're still chanting the same way you were chanting when you were 18? You did something wrong. Am I better to devotees? Am I on forums? It's like, hey, aparat, I was on chakra, let me change my name. Have I become a better devotee? Have I become even a better person? I think that a lot of times people, I remember, because I grew up around here, went to high school, and a lot of those people weren't great people. I mean, not a lot, but some of them. I don't hate, I love high school was fun. But there were some people you just thought were material, they weren't nice people. And how, you just think that everybody will be automatically a better person. In some ways they do, because eventually everybody is going to have a family and a child and understand what selflessness means, that life isn't about them anymore. But because they never took the spiritual path, they didn't do it intentionally. So they're not genuine. I mean, if you don't do it intentionally to transform yourself, how much value you're going to get from it? You're going to do it because you feel like you have to, not because that you intentionally went into this family to have a child and to raise a child as a gift from God and to raise them in this consciousness. But if you were just a person who just wants to make money, a person who just wants to go through the pangs of life and then as cool, just as a matter of circumstance, have a family, does that truly make you a better person? So, obviously, to confront these three aspects of fear, there is, if you have a fear of not what is not known, you see, well, actually, if there's a fear, talk about that. Let me see. Yeah. So I mean, the fear, again, going back to the fear of the self, we need to know ourselves. So we must practice. We must understand what Atman is in that type of Upanishadic way. Even though we are bhakti people, but how can we approach Bhagavan if we don't know who we are yet? So japa is very important, because we in japa are calling, in the most sincere, genuine way, are calling to Krishna. We are thinking of Krishna. We are meditating on Krishna. We are petitioning Krishna. We are communicating with Krishna, Bhagavan. And the other aspect, which is suffering and the fear of suffering and death, we need to see suffering. If you were to see suffering in the context of happiness, it's just, I came from a place where in Philippines is some people call it a tropical paradise. There's lots of beaches everywhere. And I think I could tell you honestly, I had worked at Rutgers for 9 years as a research lab technician in a lab. And I resigned to help my family in the Philippines put some things in order. And it's a wonderful place, but I was waking up every morning in a panic. I was worried that I was losing things. I was worried everything was falling apart. I was like, what's going on in America? What am I doing here? What do I have to my name? What have I achieved? Every morning, it was miserable. I mean, I just, my eyes were red. People were just like, are you okay? Are you sleeping? Eventually, though, when I came back to the US, everything did fall apart. And my fears came true. My fears came true. I didn't know what I was. My mother was in the hospital. My engagement broke, and all these things didn't work out. And I found I was beside myself. I was like, all those fears, all those nightmares that happened, they happened to me. Mm-hmm. But I also realized that just a few months ago, I thought everything was great, everything was fine. Business was fine, world was fine, marriage plans were going fine, and it was gone. But I realized the reality of that is that, eventually my mother was in the hospital, she got out, she's better than she was before. And that's how life is. It will cycle, and we'll be happy again. We're not to be affected by those things. So if you're afraid of suffering, knowledge helps you understand that it's going to go back your way eventually. And for the people that are continually suffering, maybe you should ask what you are doing to prolong the suffering. Some people are addicted to things. It's a behavioral adjustment. So there was this, also this inspirational speaker from New Jersey. And he was like some guy from Edison, and he had a business, his family had a business, and he turned it from like $600,000 a year to like $6 million a year, or $60 million a year. He turned it into an online business. So he's a very successful man, and now he speaks in forums and things like that. So one guy is walking out, and some guy goes to him, he says, hey, Gary, his name's Gary, tell me something inspirational in 5 words or less. And Gary says, you are going to die. Because if you know that, if you accept that, then you will live. It's not morbid. It just means that now you know how to use your time. It's not infinite. You know how to better use your time. So that is also the fear of the unknown. If you're afraid of what you don't know, then you simply have to learn about it. You have to increase your knowledge and then do it. Then do action. If you're not certain of if you could be a pujari, or if you could do purohit, like I was 15, it's been 15 years, I was 4 years ago, I don't know if I could learn some of these pancharatra rituals. I didn't know if I should take the second initiation, but I did. And it's been wonderful, it's saved me, it's moved me forward, I've learned so much, and I'm thankful for it. But you wouldn't know until you do it. Sometimes it's nice to know things, but sometimes you just have to do it. There's a time for learning, but then there's a time that you have to do action. So that is the way to defeat fear. Okay? Now, I just want to do one more verse. Looks like I'm a little ahead of time. But the verse that I had read, see, there's this in the Gita, if you studied, when I was in the Philippines, I was teaching Gita to the students there, the Bhakti, there's like Bhaktas. And when I was here, I took Bhakti Sastri, so I taught them according to Bhakti Sastri. And there's this clear difference. You know that the Gita is divided into 3 sections, right? There's the first 6 chapters are Karma Yoga, and the middle 6 chapters are dedicated to Bhakti Yoga, and then the last 6 chapters are supposed to be Jnana Yoga. Though I think according to Ramanuja, it's more like a mixture of karma and jnana. But that's in the subway. But you could see the language change from Karma Yoga to Bhakti Yoga in those 6. It's very stark. It's a very clear contrast, because in the first 6 chapters, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you should do this. This is the better thing to do. Knowledge of the self, the sthitadihi. You should be balanced. Then he changed by almost right there in the 7th chapter. Becomes like all the pronouns are mam, aham. You give it to me. Do this for me. It's so clearly it's so deep in bhakti from chapter 6 to 12. But this happened. The verse I first read was 2.56. Dukeshu anudvigna manaha sukeshu vigata spriha vitaraga bhaya krodha stita dhiru munya puchite. This compound, vitaraga bhaya krodha, repeats in chapter 4. And the verse is vitaraga bhaya krodha man maya mam upasrita. Right? Bhavo jnana tapasa bhuta mad bhavam avada. And now, in this first verse, he's saying the person who is not affected by these things, he's a Muni. He's stitted there. He's not affected. He doesn't change. In here, he says, the translation, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me. Many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me. And thus they attained transcendental love of me. So what I just told you, all these things about defeating fear, Krishna is saying, what's really going to overcome this raga, bhaya, krodha is this, well, here, Prabhupada translate as knowledge of me, but it's jnana tapasa. It's knowledge and penance. to me, to Krishna. So if we understand Krishna, that is how one can defeat, or one can overcome Maya and Raga and Krodha. And so this is something that happens throughout the Gita. Because a lot of people, you guys could argue with me, it's fair. But I happen to think a lot of people, when they talk about the Gita, they simply reduce it to 1865 and 1866. Sarvadharma Parityagya. But Krishna is also telling Arjuna to do his duty. Yes, you're surrendering it to him. A lot of people say like, well, I don't know if I should go. Should I go? Should I go? Like, well, just let's see what Krishna does. See what happens. Krishna will decide. But you have to make the initial action. We have agency. We can do the right thing. We can do the action. We can wake up early in the morning. We can go to the Sunday feast. We could learn in Pancharatri. We could we do much. We can do so much. So we should to overcome fear, we must strive to learn about Krishna. We should strive to develop knowledge. Because there's fear. To overcome fear, one of the things is to develop knowledge. Okay? That's all I really have for today. There are a lot of things to say about Raga and Kama and Krodha, but like Raga, I think Maya is related to our Kama. If you think about it, it's broken down in the Gita, but because we want things, because we have Raga or Kama, we want things, we strive to attain them. And then we're afraid of whether we can attain them or not, or afraid of losing them. And when we eventually do lose them, we have Krodha. That's the science of it. That's why these are related. It's the same thing. It'll happen to all of us. It happens to all of us. So, anyway, so many things could be said about Raga, Maya, Krodha. Does anybody have any thoughts? I know it's been a while. I know the curtains are still open. Any questions or anything like that, or any points of discussion?
I really like the points you were saying about chanting japa and how distractions come in our mind, and that's actually down to fear, or that we're uncomfortable in that situation, so we're trying to make ourselves feel better. Yeah. I never really thought about it in that way, and I always, struggle with my japa. So I was wondering if there's, obviously you said, okay, having more knowledge can overcome fear, but, specifically to do with our japa, do you have any experience from your, life or from what you've read in the Bhagavad Gita that you can share of practical things we can do to try to overcome the fear relating to chanting japa?
Okay, one thing is I'd say, as far as those comforting distractions, in my experience is that I don't find them comforting at all. But because they're like, did I pay that bill? Or I didn't answer that email. But that doesn't sound comforting. But in this really trivial way of just work, of mindless work, that's comforting. Like I said, I worked at Rutgers. I did hard work. I was a lab technician for civil engineering. We were on bridges. Cars were running through. We were high on suspension. We were using this experimental. And after 9 years or 8 years, I just said that I need to do something intentionally. This is somebody else's work, and I just move. So those distractions that come in are the comfort of our kind of mindless day-to-day things, and we could do it while, you could have your hand in your Java bag and just be like, oh, let's go through this thing. Oh, it's PSE&G again. But that's the, so that, as far as, it's funny what our comforts are, and what that means, as far as focusing. So in one sense, I know when I sit down, I always intend, in my intention, we do this thing, right? We do sankalpa when we do yogis, right? But I have a sankalpa, in my mind, I don't do it because, I know it's going to get messed up and who knows what will happen. But the sankalpa in my mind is I preface it by just kind of emptying my mind in a mindfulness kind of way, and then get ready for japa. And where I tell myself the only thing I will think of for the next certain amount of time is japa, is Harinam. It falls apart almost immediately. But for me, that is. So I said that, that I can't think of anything. Even to sit in this lecture took me, during my job, I was like, hey, what I should talk about? Fear, that's a great idea. But even good things, what happened in that lecture? Where did I put that? And what did he say? Oh, this is a great point to bring up. All those things have to be boxed out. In your mind, create a box where they're not allowed to enter. The other thing I would do on a pragmatic level is that I would take japa only because I know myself, because I have I've been diagnosed with it, but I have some kind of attention deficit issue. But you do, everybody does. We all lose the concentration. Some people are better than others. I'm not sure, I shouldn't say everybody, of course, but what I do is I give myself increments. So I'm going to do 4 rounds here, and then at a certain time I'll do another 4, because I know if I do 2 hours, I know straight I'm going to lose it. But if I could break it down into small increments during the day, it's more practical. It's a better meditation for me. That's what I do. Any other thoughts? Anything? All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.